It's time for Reason.
Don't do drugs or don't smoke because it's really, really bad for you, but we're going to raise taxes on cigarettes in the state, so that way when you go to school this year, you're going to get brand new books because we are going to use the tax money on cigarette sales. Now, I'm not against smoking. I don't care, but the hypocrisy in the government drives me nuts. They're giving us mixed signals.
This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
Then I'll get on my knees and pray. We don't get fooled again. Don't get fooled again.
Oh, yeah, welcome into the Voice of Reason. Did you feel it last night? I'm sure everybody felt it. I'm sure everybody was aware of it. They woke up in the middle of the night because of it. It was really one of the most disastrous things that's happened. The world almost fell apart. The world almost fell apart. And I'm, of course, referring to the fact that the government shut down for a whole hour and a half. I know. It was something that we all woke up around 1 o'clock a.m., I guess about midnight our time here, Central Time, 1 o'clock Eastern Time, and we woke up. We realized that the government was shut down. We cowered in fear that we hid ourselves. We had to go to our safe space, had to go to our bunkers. We were scared to death of what may have happened with the government shutting down for an hour and a half last night, thanks to those radical, nutso, right-wing, kook job, libertarian conservatives that actually wanted to try and cut spending as opposed to increase spending multiple hundreds of billions of dollars. I know it was a terrible, terrible thing. I don't know why Senator Rand Paul did something like that. It was probably the worst thing he could have done. He almost put every one of our lives in jeopardy. I'm pretty sure that's the way it went down last night. Welcome into the Voice of Reason, hailing from the middle of the country right here in Wichita, Kansas on the Big Talker KQAM, broadcasting all across the Mid-America Network along with KGPT TV, channel 2610. Welcome aboard. It is a Friday. That's what it's all about. We finally made it. It's time for you to speak up because it's your show on a free-for-all Friday. Let's make it happen today. What do you say? All right. Let's do it. 316-721-8255. 316-721-TALK. If you want to join into the program, you are more than welcome to do so. Talk about whatever you want to. It could be political. It could be non-political. It could be the Olympics that start off today because people apparently care about the Olympics. It could be anything that we've touched on, maybe missed it this week. It's up to you. You can talk about anything that you want to, and I am here to serve you. 316-721-8255. You can shoot me a message all over social media on the Voice of Reason page and KQAM page on Facebook, the Twitter at Hoosier Reason. The Facebook Live feed is up and rolling. I do appreciate it when you do like it and share it. Go to KQAM's Facebook page, facebook.com/1480 KQAM. Like it. Share it, or if you're on your own page of your station page, whatever you're listening to, KIUL, KGYN, no matter where you're at, you can go on there, you can like it, share it. I do appreciate it very much when you do so. The algorithms of Facebook, as you know, like to silence many conservative messages, and especially being a regional show like this show is, trying to talk about the politics of the region, Kansas, Oklahoma, Nebraska, Texas, this entire area. We need to get the word out. Like it, share the page. We do appreciate that very much. Let's let people know that we're here and that we're ready to roll. Last night, the vote, it was so close. It could have been done middle of the day, but that evil, terrible Senator Rand Paul, that libertarian that just likes to screw things up, throw the wrench in the system, tried to propose an amendment into the budget bill that would help try and hold the government accountable for its spending. And he ended up going to the floor and trying to debate this, which they did not like the fact that he was on the floor debating. And this is what he had to say.
I think that drawing attention to how much debt we're accumulating is something that is important. Some will say that this was a mistake to have this debate today. This debate could have been shortened and could have been finished by noon today had we been granted 15 minutes to have one amendment. So I think part of the process is, even if we were going to do the appropriation bills the way many of us would like, I think they should come to the floor and we should have a week or two of amendments. It's the most important thing we're supposed to be doing. Why couldn't we have amendments? We do sort of the opposite now. We wait to the very last minute. So we've waited all week long to put this at the very end of the week and let it expire towards the end as people get tired. And then everybody says, well, you don't want to shut down government, do you? And I really don't. My intention has never been to shut down government. But my intention is also not to keep it open and borrowing $1 million a minute. My intention is not to vote for bills that say, oh, it's just keeping it open, but bills that actually spend so much money that I think they endanger our security. There have been those who say that the greatest threat to our national security is actually our debt. I think that's true. And I think if we don't rectify this, if we don't fix our broken system, if we don't show the American public that we can function in a way better than lurching from deadline to deadline, I think eventually the American people are going to catch on that maybe they need some new people if we can't do it in an appropriate fashion.
There it is. That was Senator Rand Paul on the floor last night. In the middle of the night, he's trying to advocate for his amendment on there. Now, look, here's what I enjoy about this. And I'm no fan of the budget bill. I do not like the fact that we raised it close to $300 billion, including $160 billion for defense and military, $128 billion plus for non-military and non-defense spending. We increased the debt ceiling. We increased the budget caps. We increased the spending caps. We increased everything massively, including $60 billion for natural disaster aid. All across the board, everywhere, for the next 2 years. So we can't even look at it for the next 2 years. Now, I'm hoping, here's the positive light, because I am a positive individual. I am a glass half full kind of guy. I am always looking at the best and seeing what opportunities that we actually have here. That's me, and that's what I like to do. The opportunities that we have here is, number one, President Donald Trump, being a business individual and being a business-oriented individual, he looks at the bottom line, and he understands that he's in a way over his head situation more so than what he had predicted. Not saying he can't handle it. I'm just saying that it's a little bit more severe and drastic than what he had anticipated. What I'm hoping is that we can extend this budget. They raise it, unfortunately. I mean, there's nothing we can do about it. It's already done. Even if we tried to fight it, we tried to call our legislative officials. They were going to do it. That was the mentality. Remember, it was a really hard-fought, very intensely negotiated and compromised bill from leaders of both chambers, right? Remember that? Yeah. It was negotiated very, very intently, and that's what we had to have. So it was something that there was nothing we could do about. President Trump, I'm hoping, has a plan, because he's always usually a couple steps ahead of us when we try and do these things, to where, okay, fine, you know what, let's raise spending across the board for the next 2 years, increase the budget, let's pass it for the next 2 years. Now what we're going to do is, number one, we're going to focus on cutting taxes, growing the economy faster than it's ever been grown before, which is going to help it. So we're not borrowing $1 million a minute. Then what we're going to do is we're going to start looking at the appropriation bills, and we're going to look at one single bill at a time, and we're going to start cutting little by little while the bill's going on. So that way it's allotted the money, but we don't necessarily have to use it. And we can start shrinking, and we can start consolidating, and we can start cutting, and we can start doing these things while the budget's intact, so we don't have to worry about the government shutdowns, because then we're in the fast and furious motion. And if you remember, one of the biggest criticisms that we had under the Barack Obama administration was that we always had the fast and furious motion going on, that we couldn't get anything done because it was a panic. We were going to shut down the government. I wonder whose fault it was going to be. Someone had to cower and give up their opinion. Someone had to compromise their entire values. And then we didn't get anything done. It was just which one won at the time. Now we have 2 years. Let's give us 2 years. Let's start working on the budget during the budgetary, while we're not having to worry about the government shutting down. We can start chipping away. So by the end of the 2 years, we're not anywhere near what we thought we would be when we initially passed it. We can do that. We can work on that. And between growing the economy on the private sector and allowing us to actually give us the time as Republican-led majorities in both chambers, with hopefully a continued conservative and Republican-led majority after the primary or after the midterm elections this fall, then maybe we'll be able to take a serious look at the budget. We can do some serious cuts, and we can do something that we haven't been able to do in a really, really long time, because we're always butted up against some type of deadline. We're always butted up against some type of a really fast and furious, oh my gosh, we have to do this or it's going to be the end of the world. Now we have some time. Okay, let's look at it. And by the time that we look back 2 years from now and we look back over the last 2 years, we can say, oh, look, This is where we thought we would be when we originally passed this. Now we're actually doing better than what we thought. 2 years from now, Donald Trump is going to come out and say, look at what we've done. We thought we were going to be spending this much. We're not spending that much now. We've made traction. We've made positive ground. We've been able to cut. We've been able to negotiate prices of different projects we're doing. We've been able to cut some of the funding here and there. We've been able to consolidate. We've been able to do this and that. It's going to be good. We have an opportunity to do that, and that's what we have to look at now. We cannot sit back, and I know I'm already going to hear some of them. I already see some on social media. We cannot sit back and say, oh, look, the government passed a 2-year budget with massive amounts of spending increases, debt ceiling increases, budget cap increases, yada, yada, yada. Oh, look, it's already done. It's over. That's it. We give up because now we've spent more money, and they went back on their word. We cannot go down that road. I know that we want to, because that's the immediate reactionary response that we have, but we cannot go down that road. That's the fact of the matter, is that it's there. Now let's work on making it better so that way it's not going to be that position 2 years from now. 316-721-8255. Maybe I'm giving them too much encouragement. Maybe I'm giving them too much faith. I have too much faith in them. I don't know. But at the same time, I know that the battle's never done. The war is never over. We've never completely lost. We actually have an opportunity to do something good and actually come back and look and say, look, we've gained traction, we've gained ground, we've done better than what we've done in the past. That's my eternal optimism, and I'm sticking to it. Happy Friday morning. This is The Voice of Reason. Stay here.
You're listening to The Voice of Reason on the Mid-America Network.
Welcome back into The Voice of Reason. Happy Friday morning. You finally made it. I know you're excited about it, aren't you? I know I am. Because it's a Friday, and it's a free-for-all Friday, which means it's open lines to you. 316-721-8255. 316-721-TALK. At the bottom of the hour, it is Friday, which means not only is it a free-for-all Friday, but also we are going to be doing our FFA Appreciation Month, talking about the different FFA chapters throughout the state of Kansas, brought to you very proudly by Circle H Center Pivot Repair, Comark Energy Co-op, the El Dorado Livestock Auction, the Kansas Wheat Commission, and, of course, the Mid-America Ag Network and KQAM Radio, talking to a different chapter of the FFA each week for the entire month of February. So we'll do another one at the bottom of the hour today. Also, big news at 8 o'clock today. We're going to be having the nationally syndicated radio host Joe Pags on the show from Newsmax TV, which also broadcasts with KGPT TV as well on channel 2609. 26.9, and then also every radio station that we're on right now broadcasts him live in the evenings from 5 to 8 o'clock. Joe Pags going to be joining the program at 8 o'clock today, wrapping up the show on a free-for-all Friday. 316-721-8255. Let's go to the phones. Good morning. What's your name?
It's Jim.
Good morning, Jim. How are you, sir?
Well, I'm somewhat disappointed in the Congress. They have a congressman, senator now, used to be a congressman, Chuck Schumer.
Yes.
And this man he made a deal with the devil about 50 years ago at least. During the Waco hearings, he was able to change the Republican Congress, which was investigating the abuses of the government at Waco. He turned it around to be an issue of was David Koresh molesting the girls in the compound. These are the same girls the government murdered.
Sure,
but that's the way Schumer is.
No, I agree.
Just a few days ago, he was absolutely against a budget deal because it didn't include DACA.
Right.
Then all of a sudden, as long as he got $1 trillion to play with, he was happy. So he has gotten money, and a huge, huge pile of money. And I think our only hope is for Donald Trump to remember what he said. if he doesn't have the border wall and he doesn't have control of the border, he will veto this. He needs to veto this deal. He needs to shut the government down. He needs to tell Congress, you have to do exactly what is required. You do the deal that was set up on Tuesday and Wednesday, where we fund the military so that they have some consistency and can spend on things, and otherwise we don't spend all this money until we have a chance to talk about it.
Well,
because
it's
this downturn in the stock market is not because people are afraid that wages are going up. This people are afraid that the government is going to spend trillions of dollars and are going to destroy the value of the income tax cuts they got.
Sure.
And it's all Congress. It goes back to the 1974 Budget Reform Act, which removed all spending authority from the president. If a bill is passed by Congress, the law says the president can veto it. But once the president has signed it, the president is obligated by law to spend every penny exactly the way Congress appropriates it.
Well, they can always amend it, though, and they can always change it. Here's the thing. President Trump already signed it. It's already said and done, so he's not going to be able to veto it. As for Chuck Schumer, because I'm with you, I think that we need to step back here for a second. I love the fact that Rand Paul actually tried to pass an amendment to it to do the best that he could to try and minimize these spending increases, but there is only so much that one senator can actually do because everybody else has their mindset that they just want to increase spending all over the board. You're right with Chuck Schumer and the fact that Chuck Schumer, look, the Democrats wanted to give amnesty to DACA. They didn't want to look like they were in the wrong again by shutting down the government a second time by not getting everything they wanted on this one because they realized the last time it didn't work. So they ended up backing off on that, and that was their compromise. You're right, was that they backed off on immigration, and then they got to spend on whatever they wanted to increase that spending. And guess what? Within that spending, we still have not addressed the additional billions of dollars that we need to fund the wall. We still have not done anything with the immigration issue or immigration reform because now it's going to be on the plate to do later on. Now that we've extended the budget,
it's like the school budget in Canada.
Right, exactly. Yeah, they just continuously throw more money and more money and more money at it without actually addressing the issue, and that was their compromise. Now, if you saw on the other side of the aisle with Nancy Pelosi in the House, she did try and block it, which is why she stood up there for 8 hours yesterday or Wednesday night or whatever it was, speaking, trying to advocate for immigration because she knew that she could try and block it and have all the Democrats vote no, and it would still pass, so they were looking like they were obstructing and getting whatever they wanted to, when in all matter, it really didn't matter because Republicans voted for it. It passed it through and rammed it through, and the Democrats still didn't get anything. So, but the Democrats in the Senate, you're right, that was the bait and switch. We'll back off on immigration if you give us more spending to do. Donald Trump at that time apparently thought that that's an okay negotiation. We can amend the budget, which I think that we need to be doing. And I appreciate the call there, Jim. We got to take a break here. But you're right. We can be negotiating the budget and change it as we go along. It's a little more difficult, but we can, which is what we have to do now. But I say God bless Rand Paul for doing what he tried to do last night, trying to at least, bring them to their senses to some degree. Didn't actually work, and we shut down the government for a whole hour and a half, which I know was a really, really bad thing, right?
Defending the rights of every Kansan.
I'm not being aggressive, I'm being dominant.
This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
Oh, good morning to you. Welcome back into the Voice of Reason. It's a Friday. Welcome into your Free for All Friday right here on the Voice of Reason. Hailing from the Big Talker KQAM, broadcasting all across the Mid-American Network along with KGPT TV, channel 2610. Good morning. Welcome aboard. Let's make it happen. What do you say? 316-721-8255, 316-721-TALK. If you want to join into the program, we have some updates from the state legislature, the legislative session on what they're working on. Yesterday, we talked with State Senator Ty Masterson. We'll play that interview in the first hour, probably Monday. We'll replay that one for you. That way you know what's going on there. We do have some new executive orders from Governor Jeff Collier, and we'll talk about those in just a little bit as well. But first, I want to play it. It is that time. It is Friday morning, which means in February, which means it is FFA Appreciation Month, the Future Farmers of America. As we talk about, look, we're not just a political talk show, but we're also just we talk about ways to help our community. And we talk about ways to get engaged. We talk about ways to get involved, which is huge, especially for the young generation. I mean, come on, we always joke about the young generation, the millennials. Don't eat the Tide Pods. And that's the point that we've come to for many individuals in society, but not all, because we do have some outstanding, wonderful young individuals in our communities. And we need to show appreciation to that. And we need to understand what they're involved in, what they're interested in, ways that we can help them, ways that we can coach them, ways that we can mentor them. And that's what the FFA, along with many other organizations in the state and all over the nation, actually do. So the FFA Appreciation Month happens all throughout the month of February. And we got to thank our sponsors that actually make this happen and allow us to talk to the different chapters throughout the state of Kansas, which is Circle H Center Pivot Repair, Comark Energy Co-op, the El Dorado Livestock Auction, and the Kansas Wheat Commission, along with, of course, the Mid-America Ag Network and KQAM Radio. So week number 2, Rick Everett has our update from FFA Appreciation Week.
Good morning and welcome into another Friday morning interview with an FFA chapter from across the Sunflower State. This morning we're visiting with Gray County, America, Cimarron, USD 102 FFA advisor and ag instructor Ryan Miller. Ryan, good morning and thanks for joining us.
Good morning and you're welcome.
As an ag advisor with FFA or an advisor with FFA and an ag instructor, did you come up with a background in agriculture?
I certainly did. The dairy farm, eastern Kansas.
And how long have you been the FFA advisor for Cimarron?
I'm in my 11th year at Cimarron.
How have you seen the program change in the course of that time?
Oh, I've seen it grow from just a few students to roughly about a third of the population of the high school in these last 11 years. I've seen it go from a very production-oriented to a much more science-based, more 21st century skill, as opposed to, the old sows, plows, and cows formula that most grew up with, including myself.
Now, with an ag community in western Kansas focused primarily on beef cattle and wheat, winter wheat and sorghum as your main crops, along with some corn as well, the students that are involved in FFA, what do you see their end goal being upon becoming an FFA member?
Oh, I see that they see it as an opportunity to advance themselves through leadership, potentially find a career that fits them. Not necessarily an agricultural career, but a career that a lot of times is stemmed from taking ag education courses and be involved in FFA.
Your youngest members of the Cimarron chapter of FFA would be in what grade, and they start out at what grade and complete at what grade?
We're a 7 through 12 program, so we have students beginning as junior high students in the 7th grade.
How do you see leadership skills develop in that amount of time?
It's kind of unique because I get the opportunity to have these kids, for that 5 years. I get to see them mature and grow, and I also get to see their ability to grow personally into those leadership roles.
Help out our listeners, if you would, Ryan. FFA, as I was growing up, and perhaps many of our listeners stood for Future Farmers of America. What was behind the change in name to the National FFA organization?
That's a good question. It was a perception. It was that anybody that was involved, basically, everybody looked at them like, well, you're going to do nothing but farm. And so, we had to look at a way to still keep that agricultural background, but we needed to change our message and our viewpoint. And so, therefore, we took the name change from the Future Farmers of America to the National FFA organization in hopes of portraying a different image. And I think we've been very successful at that.
Now, you've got a couple of members, Ryan, with you from the Cimarron chapter of FFA. In fact, they're not just members, they're officers. And the first one you have with you is the secretary of your organization in Cimarron, and that is Trevor Grasser. Trevor, as secretary of the Cimarron FFA, Tell me one experience that you can look back on as a standout moment in your time with FFA.
I would have to say the time we went to the National FFA convention. We got to meet a bunch of people from different states and through FFA, the organization.
And that convention was held where?
In Indianapolis.
Now, what year are you in school, Trevor?
I'm a junior.
If you could, Trevor, explain a time when your leadership skills that you've picked up through FFA have resulted in a positive impact.
My leadership skills have been able to help me at my job, working with others, being able to get stuff done efficiently and on time.
Has your personal experience in FFA helped to prepare you for the future, do you feel?
Yeah, you learn social skills and people skills and leadership skills, stuff that'll help you in a career after high school. You're not just learning about stuff related to agriculture. You're learning how to talk to people and interact.
Very good. And you've also got your chapter president there, is that correct?
Yeah.
Derek Bogner, you are the president of the Cimarron chapter of FFA. How do you feel that FFA has helped to shape you as a person as you move forward, not only in your school career, but in your vocational career?
First, I'd like to say that FFA has really helped me to expand my knowledge on things I had no idea of. Like, I remember back in junior high, I did not have a clue on what I'd do after high school, and Mr. Miller really pushed thinking about the future. So I started thinking about what I'd like to do, and in the past couple of years, I've been able to narrow it down to a major, which is engineering, and FFA has really allowed me to expand on that.
What would you say if somebody who knew absolutely nothing about FFA approached you and asked you to describe what the main focus of the organization is?
I think the main focus of the FFA is to help kids become better leaders and push themselves out of their comfort zones to become better people in general and focus on what they want to do after high school.
Has FFA made a positive difference in your life?
Yes, it has. It's increased my leadership abilities tremendously. Just like I said, it's helped my future tremendously.
That's Cimarron, Kansas FFA chapter president Derek Bogner. Our thanks to instructor advisor Ryan Miller of Cimarron High School's FFA chapter, as well as Secretary Trevor Grassner. And along with all of our sponsors of our FFA Spotlights in the month of February, we'd also like to thank Circle H Center Pivot Repair of Cimarron. I'm Rick Everett. Now back to Andy Hoosier and the voice of reason.
There it is. Thank you very much, Rick. That is our weekly update with the FFA for FFA Appreciation Month. Is at 6:30 every Friday, talking with a different chapter throughout the state of Kansas in the month of February. Again, we want to thank all of our great sponsors for that segment, being able to talk about the young generation and what they're doing and getting involved, whether it is agriculture, whether it is engineering, whether it is public forum and public debate, which, hey, come on. You know, I love that part. And no matter what you're involved in, the FFA can definitely help you out with that as a young individual. You'll learn very quickly there, by the way, that Tide Pods are not to be eaten no matter how colorful and beautiful they actually look. No matter how beautiful or colorful they actually look, that you don't have to eat them. And, FFA will actually keep your head on straight to make sure that you're not going down that road. We do want to thank all of our sponsors for that segment. Again, Circle 8 Center Pivot Repair, Comark Energy Co-op, the El Dorado Livestock Auction, Kansas Wheat Commission, and of course the Mid-America Ag Network and the KQAM radio waves. All right, 316-721-8255, 316-721-TALK. Lots to get to today. There's been a little bit of movement in the legislature over the last couple days as they've discussed the Second Amendment. And as you know, we talked to State Senator Ty Masterson yesterday. We'll play that interview in the first hour for our Western stations, probably on Monday, to get that update from him, as he admitted this is going to be another session of Fast and Furious like last year. They're stalling on education. They're stalling on Medicaid expansion. They're stalling on budgetary issues. They're stalling on expansion of different spending. But they are talking about right now potential different tax cuts, which I find extremely ironic when we have just gone through the largest tax increase in state history retroactively. Remember, when you file your taxes in April, you will owe taxes. You will owe some because they say that for the first 6 months of 2017, you must owe the difference of what they wanted to raise the rate up to be. And they are allowed to supposedly do that ex post facto law, which is against the Constitution, but they say because it's the same budgetary year and the same sales tax year, then it doesn't really matter. We can do it anytime we want to. We are, if you remember, when it comes to sales tax for your groceries, one of the highest sales taxed states in the entire country at 6.5%. Not to mention, if you live in the Sedgwick County area here, we also have a 1% sales tax on top of the 6.5% state sales tax for groceries. Missouri has a 1.2%. Colorado has a 0%. And many other states have a 0%. We're actually only one of 14 different states that actually tax groceries. And now the legislature is looking at a 2% tax reduction on the sales tax of groceries. The funny thing is, according to the Wichita Eagle, is that it's very tough to survive, but yet we're going to be losing revenue. So if we do it, we have to raise taxes elsewhere to compensate for it. They recognize the fact that we are going to be losing revenue. They recognize the fact that they don't want to lose any of that revenue. They don't want to actually cut any of their spending in any way, shape, or form. They just don't like to do so. So they recognize that even though it's tough for you to go out and buy groceries, that you'd rather have cheaper groceries to buy, but yet less money coming home anyways because they're going to raise your income tax or your property tax or a cigarette tax or another tax, so that way you can be compensated on the back end of it, or lack thereof. Does that sound like it's going to help you at all? Does that sound like it's actually going to fix it at all? So the legislature, the Democrats especially, hey, we understand it's really tough for you being able to buy groceries. That really sucks. Let's actually lower your sales tax rate. That sounds wonderful until they want to raise taxes elsewhere because they feel bad for what they did from you last session.
This is The Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier on the Mid-America Network.
Into the Voice of Reason, wrapping up hour number 1 already. It's a Friday morning. It is a free-for-all Friday, which means whatever's on your mind, you're able to talk about, you're able to discuss, you're able to debate, or just vent about, because I am your political therapist, so it doesn't really matter. You can talk about whatever you want to. That's the beauty of the show, because it's your show, not mine. This portion of the Voice of Reason, as it always is, brought to you on a Friday by the Inman Harvest Cafe. It's not just a Friday. It's not just a free-for-all Friday, but it is your Fried Chicken Friday, brought to you by the Inman Harvest Cafe. Fried Chicken Friday with the great chicken, the fresh homemade breading, their big buffet from 11 to 1 for lunch, their really big buffet from 5 to 8 o'clock tonight, along with that free slice of pie. Katie's on the line with us. Good morning, Katie.
Good morning, Andy. Happy Fried Chicken Friday.
Happy Fried Chicken Friday. I look forward to this day every day because, waking up at 4 a.m. and being at the studio at 5 is really, really difficult sometimes. And the best way to get going is to think about the delicious food that I'm going to eat throughout the day. And on Fried Chicken Friday, I wake up literally smelling fried chicken when I wake up and take a shower.
Yeah. I smell fried chicken every day, but it's...
You smell it every day. Now, the smell can't get old, though. I mean, you got to enjoy that every day, right?
Yeah, I don't know. Eventually you stop smelling it. You really do. But, yeah, like when Nick does his chicken, and to make sure it tastes good, he has to go outside first and then come back in because, your taste and your smell are all together.
Yeah, you got to reset all that. Yeah.
You got to reset. So he goes outside for a minute or so and breathes. And then he comes back in and tastes it and makes sure that it's absolutely perfect every time. And it is absolutely perfect every time.
Every single time. I love it. Well, you have the big buffet from 11 to 1 today. You have the really big buffet from 5 to 8 o'clock, the free slice of pie. But before we get to the pies, what's on the menu today other than the delicious fried chicken?
Today we're having a chicken cordon bleu casserole, which has got chicken, it's got ham, it's got a cheesy, saucy goodness, and a breadcrumb topping. And then we are also having scalloped potatoes. These are loaded scalloped potatoes, so they've got the sour cream, they've got bacon, they've got ham, they've got cheese, they've got onions. They're just, and they're also cheesy and saucy. Cheesy. We're all about the cheesy, saucy goodness.
That's what it's all about. I love that.
Yeah, Yeah. And then we will be having a tater tot casserole with the ground beef and the vegetables, and then more cheesy, saucy goodness with tater tots on top. So that's what we'll be having. Besides the fried chicken and the homemade mashed potatoes, we had somebody ask us where our potato peeling machine was last week. They wanted to see how how we peel the potatoes, and it's like, well, I would introduce you to her, but she's not here right now.
That's right.
Like
yeah,
it's an actual person.
Yeah, let me bring her back. I'll introduce you to her, and that way you can see exactly how they're done. That's fantastic.
Right, but it's not a machine; it's an actual person. So.
Very good. And of course, do you have the roast beast as well for today? The slow cooked that you have every Friday.
Yes. From 5 to 8 in the evening, our buffet will come with the slow roasted roast beef, which is roasting now. So, that's every Friday with that one. So, and then of course in the evening, the buffet comes with pie. So today the pie is cherry, peach, custard, peanut butter, oatmeal raisin. Now that one it's a pretty cool. It's like an oatmeal raisin cookie, only nice. It's in a pie. Ooh. And then coconut meringue and whatever Nick's whipping up. Chocolate pecan, he says, and a banana split.
See,
so those
right
are
there,
our pies for today.
Right there, just when people are waking up, having their morning coffee, they're like, now I want morning coffee with fried chicken and roast beef and chicken and pie, and I want to have that for breakfast. So, that's what's on everybody's mind right now.
That's great, because that's my goal. Yeah.
That's the whole plan right there. It's perfect. It's the Inman Harvest Cafe. That's the whole goal. It's going to make you fill up for the weekend. It's going to be a great time. Now, you have you always have the extended hours. We got about 45 seconds here as well, but you have the extended hours on Thursdays as well for your big meals on Thursday. How'd that go yesterday?
It was awesome. Yeah. And we've been mixing it up on Thursdays a little bit. We still offer our low German meals by the plate now, out of the kitchen. So we've got Veronica German sausage, hash browns, that kind of thing. But then last night, we did our breakfast buffet, and that was pretty cool. It was very popular. So what we had last night was the scrambled eggs. We had hash browns. We had homemade sausage gravy and homemade biscuits. We had waffles, homemade waffles. And then I made a couple of different sauces to put on your waffles. So that was a lot of fun, and I think we'll probably do that again next week. So
I love it.
If people want to come from 5 to 8 Thursday evening, that's what you're going to get.
That's what you're going to get. I love it. It's the Inman Harvest Cafe. We'll talk to you again coming up in hour number 3. Katie, you guys have fun.
All right, thanks. We'll talk to you then.
Always fun right there. Brought to you by the Inman Harvest Cafe, just north of Hutchinson. Check them out. It's Fried Chicken Friday, baby.
It's time for Reason.
Don't do drugs or don't smoke because it's really, really bad for you, but we're going to raise taxes on cigarettes in the state, so that way when you go to school this year, you're going to get brand new books because we are going to use the tax money on cigarette sales. Now, I'm not against smoking. I don't care, but the hypocrisy in the government drives me nuts. They're giving us mixed signals.
This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
Then I'll get on my knees and pray. We don't get fooled again. Don't get fooled again.
Oh, yeah. Welcome into the Voice of Reason, hour number 2 of the Voice of Reason right here on the Big Talker, 1480 on the AM side, 102.5 on the FM side, KQAM, along with KGPT TV, channel 2610. Can you believe it? You finally made it. The day you've been looking forward to is finally here. It is a Friday, which means it's open lines to you, whatever you want to talk about. It could be political, non-political. It could be something we talked about, not talked about, because it's a free-for-all Friday for you. All right. 721-8255, 316-721-TALK. If you want to join into the program, you're more than welcome to do so. It's open lines to you all hour long. Anything you want to touch on, that's quite okay. Coming up in hour number 3, we have nationally syndicated radio host Joe Pags, which you can hear on KQAM airwaves every evening live from 5 to 8 o'clock at night. You can also watch him actually on KGPT TV on Newsmax TV, channel 26.9. So both of them being able to, both crowds being very familiar with Joe Pags and very excited to have him on the program. We talk to him every once in a while when we get an opportunity to do so, and he's going to sit down with us in the 8 o'clock hour today, talking about the government shutdown, talking about the budgetary deal, talking about the Democrats and the Republicans and what agendas to move forward with from now on. I don't know if you heard the news, but it was terrible. You may have woken up last night. You may have struggled to sleep properly last night. It probably jolted you awake like a lightning bolt. It may have disturbed you in the middle of the night because the government shut down for an hour and a half. I know. It was a terrible thing. I woke up in absolutely cold sweats. I could not sleep the rest of the night. I was scared to death that something may happen, that the frogs may be falling from the sky, that the clouds may be turning green, and that something terrible may happen because the government shut down for an hour and a half in the middle of the night. It was a scary ordeal. And it was all because, by the way, of Lindsey Graham pointed out, the South Carolina Republican, quote unquote, the Republican, Lindsey Graham, said it appears that General Rand Paul, because he's taking a nice little jab out in there, General Rand Paul's at it again. He just called for the immediate withdrawal of all of our forces from Afghanistan as a way to give the U.S. military a pay raise. Fortunately, only General Paul and the Taliban think that's a good idea. Now, Rand Paul, being on the more libertarian front and the flavor, has been advocating to bring our troops home, which I understand. I don't necessarily agree with him on that front, but I do understand where he's coming from. But he's also the only one. He's also the only one that actually stood up to try to include an amendment into the budgetary bill to try and limit and actually have a little bit of accountability when it comes to our government spending. As you know, that we just increased it by hundreds of billions of dollars, $300+ billion into our budget for the next 2 years, $160 billion of it going towards the military and defense. Let me see if I can find the numbers here. It was 160 for one of them. It was close to, I believe, 160 million for the military and about 140 million for the non-military spending for social programs, which means that we're spending a lot more money again on social programs again. Now, again, me being the eternal optimist, and we mentioned this in the first hour, is the fact that we have an opportunity to still change that, but now we can work on our issues without having to address a government shutdown, doing the fast and furious, the big panic that accrues along with that, and then us not getting everything that we can really do. Do I like the additional spending? Absolutely not. It's absurd. But that was the negotiation that we made in order for them to drop immigration right now, which I don't think we should have negotiated, because if they want to shut down the government, shut it down. Donald Trump is very okay with that. And we need to remember, this is not Donald Trump that made this deal happen. This is not a Donald Trump thing. The never-Trumpers, the purist conservatives that do not like Donald Trump, this was not his making. This was Congress. And what have we been saying over and over and over and over again? That Donald Trump has very little to do with negotiation. Donald Trump and the presidency has very little to do with writing legislation. Donald Trump and the presidency has very little to do with influencing the legislation. All he can say is whether he's going to sign it or veto it. That's it at the end of the day. But Congress writes the bills. So if we don't like the fact that we are trying to negotiate the amnesty of DACA recipients, it's not Donald Trump, it's the Republicans in Congress. If we don't like the fact that we just increased $300 billion+ over the next 2 years in spending, it's not because of Donald Trump, it's because of Congress. And one of these days, hopefully, one of these days, the elected or the constituents and the voters that don't understand this yet will begin to understand that Congress and that our elected official that you're able to get a hold of and reach a lot easier than the President of the United States, the individual that comes back to your district and has town hall meetings, the individual that comes back and has online Facebook Lives or Skypes or tries to talk to his constituents, or you can call up their office or email their office and get some type of response, usually, is the one that actually writes these bills. And all of them together have to unify in order to make a bill. Now, that makes it more difficult for the negotiation process because you're dealing with 435 members of the House and 100 members of the Senate. But at the same time, they're representing you. And they're crafting those bills. So $300+ billion in additional spending, that's on Congress. And there's one senator that stood up and said, wait a second, hello, we're spending more money here. We're spending a lot more money here. At what point are we going to be fiscally responsible and get back on track, cut spending, while we actually see the economic growth because of the Donald Trump tax cuts? The market's going up and down right now. You see them peaking, you see them dropping. We just dropped another 1,000+ points last night. Everybody's all in panic. Everybody that's investing is thinking about pulling out. It's all this big deal. It's a big panic. It's because they don't know what the heck to do. We're going back and forth here. We're saying, yeah, let's spur up the economy by cutting taxes. Let's grow the economy. Let's get people back to work. Let's do really good things. But at the same time, let's increase our spending. Now, again, we have an opportunity to be able to amend it as we go, not have to worry about a time frame or a deadline, not have to worry about a government shutdown because we have 2 years to make this happen. Now we can negotiate cheaper expenditures. We can negotiate consolidations. We can negotiate cuts. We can work on these things without a deadline or a time frame. And that's good news because the Democrats can't hold it against us. And now we can address immigration properly. I think we should have done it then and said, hey, you know what? If you want to shut it down, shut it down. I don't really care. But the Democrats knew that by shutting it down, they weren't going to gain anything because they didn't gain anything last time. They lost it last time because they got labeled as the hashtag Schumer shutdown, and that they still had to reopen it by saying, well, you promised to talk about immigration. And now they're the ones pulling out of it saying, yeah, you know what? We don't want to talk about that. Why are you trying to shut down the government, Republicans? Because you just won't let it go. And that's where they've been at. So the government averted crisis last night after an hour-and-a-half government shutdown. Senator Rand Paul made his comments on the Senate floor with really, of course, nobody being around because they don't like to listen to him, which is sad. But this is what he had to say.
I think that drawing attention to how much debt we're accumulating is something that is important. Some will say that this was a mistake to have this debate today. This debate could have been shortened and could have been finished by noon today had we been granted 15 minutes to have one amendment. So I think part of the process is even if we were going to do the appropriation bills the way many of us would like, I think they should come to the floor and we should have a week or two of amendments. It's the most important thing we're supposed to be doing. Why couldn't we have amendments? We do sort of the opposite now. We wait to the very last minute. So we've waited all week long to put this at the very end of the week and let it expire towards the end as people get tired. And then everybody says, well, you don't want to shut down government, do you? And I really don't. My intention has never been to shut down government. But my intention is also not to keep it open and borrowing $1 million a minute. And my intention is not to vote for bills that say, oh, it's just keeping it open, but bills that actually spend so much money that I think they endanger our security. There have been those who say that the greatest threat to our national security is actually our debt. I think that's true. And I think if we don't rectify this, if we don't fix our broken system, if we don't show the American public that we can function in a way better than lurching from deadline to deadline, I think eventually the American people are going to catch on that maybe they need some new people if we can't do it in an appropriate fashion.
There it is. That was Senator Rand Paul last night on the floor as they shut it down for an hour and a half, which I know you jolted awake last night worrying about what's going to happen to the fate of America when the government was closed down in the middle of the night, worrying what may happen to our society. 316-721-8255, 316-721-TALK. Lots to get to today. When we come back, I want to shift gears a little bit and talk about some local issues. It's interesting how this is all playing out with our legislature and with some of the bills they're crafting and some of the agendas of activists in the public sector. We'll talk about some of those things along with Governor Jeff Collier actually making some executive orders yesterday, 4 of them wanting to be more transparent within these governor's office. So we'll mention those as well. Your thoughts and calls are always appreciated as well. Whether you're watching TV, listening to the radio, does not matter. Welcome aboard. Happy Friday. This is The Voice of Reason. Stay here.
This is The Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier on the Big Talker, KQAM.
Welcome back into the Voice of Reason right here on the Big Talker KQAM along with KGPT TV, channel 2610. Welcome aboard. Great to have you along today on a Friday morning. 316-721-8255. 316-721-TALK. If you want to join in, you're more than welcome to do so. 22 minutes past the hour right now. By the way, we do still I have one pair of tickets left to the Monster Jam monster trucks that are going to be happening this weekend, Saturday and Sunday at Intrust Bank Arena. We'll give those away probably sometime this hour, so stay tuned in and keep listening for that. Plus, we got to get somebody else registered for the ultimate Valentine's Day gift. The ultimate Valentine's Day present brought to you by KQAM and Auto Tech. We'll get somebody else registered today for that candidate number 4 as we go about our registration for that. So we got a lot to do, a lot to get to today. But I've been noticing something that I find very interesting, and it's been a topic that we touch on every once in a while. And for the longest time, we touched on it way too much. But it's an interesting one because it's beginning to infiltrate Kansas. And good or bad, I'm not judging in any way, shape, or form there. But it's infiltrating and starting to bleed into Kansas a little bit from our surrounding neighbors. And first off, here's the story that we found, and you've been hearing it on the news as of right now, but there's been a store in Wichita that's been selling CBD. American Shaman on Hillside is open but did not close, being the store that has non-FDA approved. CBD is the part of the industrial hemp plant with the medicinal marijuana qualities for individuals with chronic pain or with certain issues. And they've been trying to be pushed to be closed. And they're filing the lawsuit because they say that there's no THC in it, does not get you high, but yet it has the CBD that actually takes care of you medicinally. So we see that story. Then I see the story off of the AP, the Associated Press, that talks about the loopholes that many businesses are beginning to try when it comes to actual marijuana. Where if you don't have to actually buy the product, but you buy a T-shirt, you buy a water bottle, you buy a plastic baggie, and then for the gift alongside of that is that you just get the marijuana. And it's the loophole because you're not technically purchasing the marijuana. You're purchasing the T-shirt and you get some pot for free. Now, the T-shirt may cost you $60, but you're getting the T-shirt and then you just are gifted the marijuana on the side. So the question I have, and I know that we have some individuals, even on the conservative side, that are advocating for the legalization of marijuana medicinally, recreationally, on whatever. And I open up the lines to you because I want to ask you the thought of, is this the best way to go about it? Is this the best way to do it? Now, even if we are advocating for the legalization, which personally I am still not that much of a fan of, I think it should be regulated more so at the state level than the federal level. But is this the best way to do it? Or is this harming the movement by trying to find those loopholes? Because what it really shows is that instead of trying to change the laws the right way and going through the process to make it legit the right way, we're scooting through the laws, which is going to give it even more of a negative connotation than what we already have for it. I'm saying we're going to find a way to do it regardless of what you think of us because we're going to do whatever we want to. And I don't want that message to get across that way. Now, there's numerous different types of debates happening in Kansas right now, where we have the marijuana medicinal purposes, where we want to minimize the penalties for possession of. We have the straight-up legalization of marijuana that a lot of individuals are advocating for. We have the agricultural hemp that has nothing to do with marijuana, really, because there's no THC in hemp, but yet most individuals are still considering it to be part of the marijuana brand, and therefore they don't want anything to do with agricultural hemp either. And now we had the CBD product to where it's the pain management, but has no THC, does not get you high, but yet it's still the oils that come from a marijuana plant that people use for the pain management. And now there's new legislation coming from the legislature saying that penalty for possessing marijuana pot remnants is going to be the same as actually having marijuana, meaning that whether you have agricultural hemp that has no THC or whether you have the pain management CBD products that actually have no THC in them whatsoever, it's still the remnant of a pot plant and therefore is considered carrying and possessing marijuana in the same frame. And that's going through the legislature right now, which is very interesting, unique to perspective to that, because that really shows the dynamic and the view of marijuana in the state of Kansas, with how much work the advocates of the legalization have to get to if we're lumping in even the non-THC particles and the remnants of marijuana like the CBD, into saying that you're possessing marijuana and therefore it's still illegal. Meaning that the advocates, I think, have a lot more work on their slate and a lot more work to do to get anywhere if that's what they think that, is going to happen in the state. And I'm not saying right now, this is just objectively speaking what's happening realistically. I'm not advocating one way or another in this right now, but that's just what I've acknowledged, what I've observed. So it's a very interesting conversation. So I wanted to open up to you. Is this the right way to go? And the loopholes that many businesses have with buying a T-shirt and getting the marijuana for free, is this going to hurt or help the agenda of wanting to eventually get to the idea of legalization? 316-721-8255, 316-721-TALK. Let's take a phone call, shall we? Good morning. What's your name?
Absolutely not. This is Sean.
Sean, what's going on, my friend?
Well, there's no secret out there. I am completely against legalization of marijuana or its byproducts or whatever they want to call it.
Sure.
You want to go industrialize hemp, because you can, make a shirt out of it or a rug or something. That's fine. We'll figure out how to make pot without THC and keep our kids a little bit safer, I think.
Sure.
Adults, I'm kind of torn on that because adults can make stupid decisions, and that's on them, except in our society where society now has to take care of them for their stupid mistakes.
Yes.
So I'm against it. I am against it. Now, that being said, this derivative oil thing that they've got out there, where they're going to get themselves in a lot of trouble. And I probably shouldn't tell them this because it's going to wake somebody up and maybe change and then whatever. But is that you can't make medical claims on any product without proof of it, okay? And anecdotal proof that this CBD stuff cures cancer, cures arthritis, cures this. It cures freaking everything. If you listen to what they say. I mean, everything. I have heard them say it will cure you of cancer. That is blatantly immoral and illegal. If you were to say that about a vitamin, the FDA comes down on you so hard and puts you in jail for making those statements.
That's very
true. And what's going to happen is somebody out there is going to take CBD instead of chemotherapy, is going to die, and the family is going to sue these people. Unfortunately, these people have no money. They have no money because they're selling pot.
Sure.
But
I tell you what, Sean, hang on to that thought. We got to take a break here real quick. Hard time, bottom of the hour break. Stay in there. I want to have you finish your thought because you're absolutely right. Without the FDA putting their rubber stamp, which again, I'm not for a government agency saying that it's okay, but at the same time, without any type of backing here, then we're open to liability all across the board. Stay here.
You're listening to The Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier, your personal political therapist. Give him a call at 721-TALK.
That's what it is. Welcome back into The Voice of Reason. It's a Friday, which means it's all up to you, and welcome aboard. Happy Friday to you. You finally made it. The lights at the end of the tunnel, and the lights starting to come up outside, too. Go figure. 316-721-8255, 316-721-TALK. Talking about the new legislation in Kansas wanting to... Now, right now, under current law, penalties for possessing... Here's the difference. Possessing THC... The psychoactive element from marijuana are stronger. The possession for that, the penalties are stronger than actually possessing marijuana itself. So there's a new legislation that they're working on trying to say, hey, if you have THC, if you have CBD, whatever, then we get penalized the same as having just marijuana as opposed to having a higher penalty for that. But it does include as well now the CBD. As you know, the store opened up in the Wichita area here selling oils for pain management with the CBD in that. That's not the THC, does not get you high. And here it is. They say, now, and Sean, we still have him on the line. I want to get to him here as well. But here's what they say. This one, apparently the CBD is not what cures cancer or what they claim helps different ailments with the seizures or with cancer and cancerous cells. They say the list of benefits from the CBD with the oils help with pain, migraines, diabetes, but the FDA says that it's illegally sold products and not FDA approved. Now, I'm not one to say, well, whatever the government tells us is okay. I'm not saying that in any way, shape, or form. This I'm more open to with the CBD, saying that it's just if instead of taking an aspirin, if you want to try rubbing the oil on you and seeing if that helps with a migraine or with something, then that's more okay to give it a try, as opposed to saying, yeah, this is going to help cure your cancer. Don't take the poison that the doctors are going to give you with your treatments, but take this instead. So I think this one's a little bit different factor. But Sean, you make a really good point that the more we go on down this road, I think with the studies, which they say that they've been able to kill some cancer cells with this, they've been able to help seizures with some of this stuff, they've been able to help X, Y, and Z, which is great. But at the same time, if we try and say that this is way better and this will absolutely help it more so than somebody else, then this is opening us up to a whole nother lawsuit, which I am not a fan of taking things back to the legal system, because we know how well the courts work.
Correct. Here's my take on this. The people that are pro-marijuana, okay, I get it. I know why they do it. But what they're doing is classic chipping away at the issue, breaking it down until you normalize it, and then just say, well, why do we have it illegal? It's all normal, right?
Sure.
So, and this is just another step in that direction. Medicinal marijuana drives me crazy, because in order to call something medicine, it has to be made in a very controlled environment so that you know exactly the percentages and the dosages. And, there's a reason that you don't go and make aspirin or any other drug in your bathtub before, as soon as you get sick. Why? Because you don't have the quality controls in there to make it consistent and do what it's supposed to do and not harm people.
To sell it on the market.
To
sell it publicly. Now, I've seen, and I do agree with a lot of natural remedies in order to take care of things. I mean, there's certain leaves that our ancestors used to use to get rid of migraines that really have like a natural aspirin to them that you rub on your face and that sort of thing. And I'm all for that kind of stuff. I'm not saying that it only needs to be produced corporately in order to be distributed that way. But if you're going to sell it on the public market, then that's kind of what needs to happen.
Which is what we're doing when we talk about medicinal marijuana. We're
Right.
talking about selling it in a dispensary.
Exactly.
It's not regulated. The quality control is not there. And the other argument that they always make is, hey, it's a naturally occurring plant. It's in nature. Well, so is cyanide and uranium and the plague. And you're not allowed to have those in your house either. And I'm serious about that. These are the arguments that are being made that we're just sitting there nodding our heads, bobbing our heads, saying, oh, I guess they're right. It's just a natural thing. If it's natural, you should be able to have it. Well, you're not allowed to have all natural things in your house. And as the law is written today, you're not allowed to have it. Now, why is it that the legislature hasn't legalized it? Well, they want to say it's a moral thing. The people are just against drugs, and marijuana is a drug.
That's a bad argument.
And I say that's not a valid argument. That's not why it is. It's because it is dangerous. Now, the pro-marijuana people throw out their little studies that say that, oh, no, it has no harmful side effects and this, and that. Well, you know what? It's illegal because there are other scientific research that shows that it is actually very dangerous, especially to children. And you can't ignore that when you're using a thing called science.
Sure.
Science says you have to look at everything.
We got a lot of calls lining up, and I want to take all them as well. But, Sean, I got to ask you one before you go, too, just real quickly. From your standpoint, not being an advocate of legalization of marijuana, do you think that it's going to help or hurt their cause by seeing this movement of doing the gifting of pot if you buy a T-shirt for $60 and you just get it on the side? Or even they're talking about many businesses just selling a sandwich baggie for $60, and then what happens to be inside of it seems to be free. Is this going to help their cause of getting it more out there so people understand it more, or is it going to hurt them by them looking like, from a PR standpoint, that they're going around the laws?
Well, from a PR standpoint, absolutely. Everybody knows exactly what they're doing. From a legal standpoint, I don't think they're allowed to do that. For instance, you can't scalp tickets down at Intrust Arena by handing them a T-shirt and saying, oh, inside that T-shirt is the tickets to that concert you want to go to. Okay, and that is illegal. There's no legal stance for that. And same thing with this pot thing. These people, they think they're scientists, they think they're lawyers, they think they know it all, okay? And the fact of the matter is they're going to push this thing, and one of these days, one of these district attorneys are going to take this up and say, you know what? You guys have gone too far. and
Right.
now we're shutting you down. And then they're going to be back to step one, which is how do we make it legal?
Sure. Sean, I appreciate it very much, my friend. I know that we're going to get some people disagreeing with you on there. I'm probably more in line with your ideas on there, but I want to get somebody that is an advocate for the legalization of to see whether this is going to help or hurt. Now, this company is called High Speed, which describes itself as a juice delivery service. This is out of Boston. And they're exploiting the so-called quote-unquote gifting provisions that allow for the exchange of small amounts of drugs so long as it's given away gifted from one adult to another. So it's not in the state of Kansas where they're doing this gifted mentality, but at the same time, I mean, state laws may be different, so they may be allowed to do that in other places, but they don't face the same oversight or pay the marijuana sales taxes. So therefore, it's a little more open to what they're allowed to do. Officials in Western Massachusetts also looked at the Craigslist ad offering a plastic sandwich bag costing up to $325 for the sandwich bag, with the marijuana that was inside of it being free, because that's not how they actually marketed it. So it's getting to be the new trend on how they actually want to sell the product. Is this going to help or hurt the cause? Because people know what they're doing, obviously. But is it going to look like, from the PR standpoint of trying to win people over to support the legalization of, oh, look, they're going around the laws because they don't like the laws and they're going to do what they will? Or, oh, look, that's all right and we want to fight for this, so therefore we're going to find a way to make it happen, and that way more people have it in their possession, and therefore it's going to be easier to legalize later on down the road. It's an interesting way to try and play that, but along with the CBD, now the CBD, if you want to try and make an oil that says, hey, you know what, we have a migraine, you have a joint pain, that you can try this may help you with as a natural remedy, that's fine, but again, the consistency is what it's all about. Right now, the consistency's not there. And from every study that I've seen from the marijuana grown in like Colorado, now that it's legalized so openly in the general public, it is not consistent. The strains, every time they grow a new plant, does not have the right amount of THC in it from literally from plant to plant. So it's really hard to be able to sell this and put a label on it and say, this is how much THC you're getting, this is how much CBD you're getting, this is how much whatever you're getting from this plant, because we don't know unless you actually test every single plant as you're growing it. And that's kind of the issue that we're having right now, unless we corporatize it and we actually do be able to blend it and mix it and make it a little more synthetic and kind of make it a little more streamlined that way. But that's not something that the marijuana industry wants to have done, because they don't want it to be corporatized, because they're kind of against the corporatization of everything already. So they're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place. 721-8255. Let's take another phone call here, shall we? Good morning. What's your name?
Good morning, Andy. It's Nick.
It's Nick. I was hoping you'd call in, my friend. How you doing?
Just great. And yourself?
Oh, we're living the dream, my friend. So, all right. So I know that you've been one pushing hard to push for the more of the legalization of the products here in the state. So I want to ask you, from this standpoint, regardless of, when we can get into the legalization, not legalization in a minute, but just from your standpoint, the idea of selling a gifted pot with a T-shirt or a baggie or a bottle of water or something, is this going to help or harm your cause later on down the road in the long term?
Well, I'm not one to talk about other people's marketing principles or the ways that they market. We have people that do marketing in very false ways, and we have people do marketing in very good ways, and we can decide who we want to go and do business with.
Sure.
The problem is, under the Controlled Substances Act, Schedule I drugs or substances are classified as so dangerous that they generally cannot be tested. Yet, we continue to lower the penalties of said offenses, and so this is not a rational definition of being hard on crime, nor a demonstration of the 5 schedules. If cannabis is the most dangerous drug, Schedule I, why would we be lowering penalties thereof? Now, when we talk about a crisis, unless you're going to say that as conservatives, whether or not we have selective conservative disorder, then we're going to start prohibiting such things as nicotine and caffeine that kills 2,000 people per year, prescription drugs that kill 15,000 people per year, alcohol 80,000, tobacco 480,000, and abortion, which is 600,000. I think the crisis is definitely not have anything to do with cannabis. My main point is the legislature doesn't even want to touch this issue, doesn't want to talk about it, no hearings, no debate, whether it's Representative Whitmer, Barker, Hawkins, Senator Masterson, or whomever. they don't even want to discuss this issue, and that's a problem for me when there's a Gordian knot tied to this criminalization of this plant.
Well, you bring up a lot of stuff there. Let's take it piece by piece here first, because you bring up some interesting points. I agree with you 110% of the fact that if we're going to have it on the dangerous class 1 list of different narcotics and different things that they don't even want to test, why are we lowering the penalties of having the possession of? I mean, we're kind of talking out of one side of the mouth and doing something else. So I would agree with you. I mean, we really need to stick to a racket. Right. We either need to stick to one side or the other and say it's a dangerous substance. We're not going to, and we're going to raise the penalty because you really shouldn't have it because it's really dangerous, or we need to lower the penalties because it's not that bad and we need to take it off that list so that way we can have a better discussion of. So we need to go one way or another, and right now we're kind of playing tug of war with one another. So I would agree with you on that stance.
Well, and you look at like alcohol. You can make your own beer and wine at home.
Sure.
Just like any other general gardening substance, and there's no purity standards or anything like that.
Sure, but are you selling it on the market en masse?
Well, I'm not even at this point in time going into the regulation. I'm just saying, as a citizen, I should be able to put that seed in the ground and use it for whatever purposes I want, whether it be for the low THC food type nutrition, whether it be for fiber or fuel or non-FDA evaluated uses. I don't think that's something
but here's the concern, though, and coming from Colorado, when they did that to legalize it just to be allowed to grow it, which they had the two conflicting bills, which I want to use Colorado as the prime example because they were kind of the experiment here. They started off with you saying that you can grow your own plant medicinally, and you can have up to like 3 plants. And you can grow them in your home, and you can have them, and you can smoke them. You can do whatever you want with them because it's for your medical purposes. And people started to grow it. But of course, if you're growing it in the privacy of your own home, you actually have no idea how many plants you're allowed to grow. Then on top of that, then they passed the recreational side of it where they said that, you know, if you're doing it recreationally, you're not allowed to grow the 3 plants for the medical side, but you're allowed to grow up to 5 or 6 plants recreationally. So if you have the medicinal purpose and the recreational purpose, you could be growing 8. If you only had the medical purpose, you could be going 3. If you have the recreational but not the medicinal, you could be growing 5 or 6. And of course, unless the law enforcement's knocking on everybody's door saying exactly how many plants they have, we don't know. And what it turned out to be was that the tiny little county that I lived in up in the mountains that had 15,000 registered voters in the entire county, that had 5 to 10 different individuals on the county sheriff's team and the law enforcement, had to create their own drug task force because people were growing it in their entire homes. Any house below $100,000 market value, they would be buying out in cash. They were turning them into nurseries, growing hundreds of plants, and then selling them again on the black market because it's still cheaper to sell than opposed to actually going.
That's the key. Because of cannabis prohibition, the government has created a black market. And we have to decide if we're conservative to the point where we're going to let the citizens do it. I was appalled when I heard a Central Kansas law enforcement administrator tell a local chamber of commerce that he needed more money to build his office's drug task force, official illicit drug dealers and buyers, so he could stop taking officers off of sex crimes and burglaries. This is not responsible use of law enforcement resources any way you cut it.
Well, I agree they shouldn't be spending more money on that, but they had to there because they legalized it there. They legalized the growing, they legalized the selling, but then people were still selling it without the permits because they could sell it for cheaper than the government taxing it, growing it in their homes when they weren't supposed to have that amount, and it created this unintended consequence of drugs being grown all over the place right next to you in the next house. And you were smelling it, and it was, people selling it on the black market, and it actually created more of an issue, in my opinion, than the actual stringent regulations that we have now, because the law enforcement then had to start cracking down on people illegally selling it when they were allowed to grow a few plants for themselves, but then they were growing it to sell recreationally. And that's the problem I don't want to see in Kansas. If we say, you're allowed to grow it yourself to do what you will, some people will do that rightly, but then others, as we've seen, will take advantage of that and try and sell it on the market, and we don't know what's in it. I mean, the Colorado marijuana now is the strongest marijuana in the world because they've been able to manipulate, I don't know, the genetics or whatever they do to it to make it strong with the THC levels, to where now, I mean, you're seeing crazy things happen to it, which I don't care if you smoke marijuana. I'm with you. We shouldn't be knocking on people's doors and seeing what you're doing in your basement. It makes no difference to me, but it really destroyed the community up there by how they abused the system.
anything can be abused. We have to stand on our principles of what we're going to say we represent as freedom, limited government individuals. And I think on this one issue, we are total hypocrites as a brand for Kansas conservatives. And that's just a simple fact.
Well, and I love the fact that you, I mean, it's a great argument to use the conservative side of that, and I appreciate that very much from you, Nick, because I've seen the negative side effects of it. And look, if the government wasn't involved in it in any way, shape, or form, and we were just allowed to do what we will with it, then I would care a lot less. But the fact that they do try to tax it, they do try to regulate it, and they abuse it the way that they have, then I mean that's the problem that I have, because first off, I don't want to give the government more revenue. And second off, when we have conflicting laws to say you're allowed to do this but not allowed to do this, and people find that loophole, then it doesn't do us any good. It does more harm, in my opinion.
The Attorney General gave a very good opinion about this. The CBD comes from different plants as well. But the thing that he's talking about is the CBD oil that's extracted from cannabis.
Sure.
The cannabis plant is illegal. And so, I'm just hoping that we can continue this debate and have a debate and not make it all personal and negative, and advocate for the lawmakers to actually have a debate, whether it's an election year or not, because it's important. Whether you think that children can benefit from seizures. My biggest issue is there are pharmaceutical companies that are giving money to anti-legalization or anti-adult use initiatives to keep this out of citizens' hands while they're making money off of derived medications from this plant. That's a problem.
That is a problem. And you know what? And that's why we love to have the dialogue. I love when you call in, Nick, and be able to debate this back and forth and have that dialogue and discussion, because that's exactly what we need. I got to ask you a last question. We got about 30 seconds before we take a break, but I did mention, kind of the stuff that is FDA approved with the liquor, with the tobacco, and we know exactly the amount of alcohol that's in the bottle when you buy it with the label on it saying 12% alcohol, 90 proof, 80 proof, whatever. And the inconsistencies that we've seen with the manufacturing of the marijuana right now, to where the last study I'd seen, only 13% of the labels in Colorado were actually accurate with the amount of THC. Is that a problem, and how do we go about changing that?
That's a problem for the regulators and the state regulators and anybody. If they want to have me at the table to help out with that, that's great. I'm talking about a seed at home, whether it's alcohol or tobacco, that I can produce myself, and we can get in the regulation part of it later.
Nick, I love it, my friend. Have a great weekend. I really appreciate that. It's always a great discussion, being able to discuss this on our own terms and be able to figure out the pros and the cons. We got a lot more discussion to have with it, and we'll continue to do so. And maybe you're right. Maybe it's just because an election year or whatnot, but the legislatures eventually should have a dialogue and actually break this down and see what benefits or negatives we need to have, because we need to have the discussion pro and con. One more break, wrapping up hour number 2. This is The Voice of Reason. Stay here.
The Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
Willow bark, that's what it was. I couldn't remember what the plant was. It gives you that helps with your migraines, kind of the aspirin kind of thing. Chewing on willow bark, the Egyptians were the ones that actually was able to discover that. From a listener online, James, appreciate that. I couldn't remember. I remember that you can use different plants for different things. And look, I'm all for the all natural kind of thing in society. Not just saying that we always need to be popping the pills. We just want to make sure that it's done the right way. Love the conversation. Love the phone calls. Coming up in hour number 3, the man himself, nationally syndicated radio host Joe Pags, going to be joining us, because that's the way we roll. This is your show. It's time to speak up, speak out, speak loud, speak proud, speak the truth, and always speak some reason. Hour number 3 of The Voice of Reason coming up in a minute.
It's time for Reason.
Don't do drugs or don't smoke because it's really, really bad for you, but we're going to raise taxes on cigarettes in the state, so that way when you go to school this year, you're going to get brand new books because we are going to use the tax money on cigarette sales. Now, I'm not against smoking. I don't care. But the hypocrisy in the government drives me nuts. they're giving us mixed signals.
This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
Then I get on my knees and pray. We don't get fooled again. Don't get fooled again.
Yeah, welcome into the Voice of Reason, hour number 3 of the Voice of Reason right here on the Big Talker, 1480 on the AM side, 102.5 on the FM side, KQAM, along with KGPT TV, channel 2610. Welcome aboard. Happy Friday to you. You finally made it. The light has finally hit the end of the tunnel. You finally get to enjoy. You've worked hard all week long, and now you get to kick back, sit back, and relax just a little bit. It is a Friday. It is our free-for-all Friday. Come on! That means it's up to you. Whatever's on your mind, bothering you, troubling you, it does not matter. Let's have a little fun with it today, shall we? Which we have so far. It's a free-for-all right here on The Voice of Reason. Let's do it! All right. 721-8255-316-721-TALK. If you want to join in, great conversations that we've had so far. Lots more to get to, and I want to jump right into it with our next guest. Now, we taped this yesterday. We sat down with Mr. Joe Peggs yesterday afternoon because, well, you know, he's not an early morning guy. He's kind of a late night show host, so therefore it's hard to get him up and going live right now because he's kind of a busy guy. So we sat down with him yesterday afternoon, but he's nationally syndicated radio host. He is the host that you hear live every afternoon and every evening right here on KQAM from 5 to 8 o'clock at night. You also hear him on KGPT channel 26.9 as well on Newsmax TV. It is Joe Peggs, nationally syndicated radio host, and he sits down with us here on The Voice of Reason. JoePeggs.com is his website. It's the man himself, Mr. Joe Peggs. Joe, it's great to be with you, my friend.
Andy, love being on, man. How's it going?
Oh, we're just living the dream here in Wichita, Kansas. Although I am a little jealous. You guys get warmer weather down in Texas than we do here.
Well, today it's nice. Yesterday was like 30 or 40, so I mean it wavers. But yeah, we've got a really nice day today.
Oh, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. I have to ask you, the Democrats, I love poking fun at them. It's a lot of fun. But at the same time, the Democrats shut down the government 3 weeks ago. They try and shut it down for a non-budgetary issue, and they shut it down because they refused to extend the budget. They lost, which I thought felt really good because for the first time, Republicans stood their ground on a government shutdown. Now they don't want to talk about immigration. Now they're criticizing Republicans for potentially wanting to shut down the government, which we extended the budget for 2 years now. But they threatened that they want to still talk about immigration, but yet not have it be tied in with the budget. Are they on the losing end right now because they seem a little desperate?
They're on the losing end, and they keep on losing. It's weird. When Donald Trump ran for president, he said we're going to win and keep on winning. We're going to win so much you're going to get tired of winning. The Democrats appear to really want to lose constantly. It's very strange. when Chuck Schumer pretends to cry and Nancy Pelosi calls $1,000 bonus crumbs, or Debbie Wasserman Schultz says $1,000 doesn't stretch very long, and they try to get this non-budgetary DACA deal in a budget measure. I mean, the shutdown lasted 2.5, 3 days because Schumer and Pelosi look like a bunch of idiots. Mm-hmm. But they're doing it again now. I mean, I don't know. You saw this a couple of days ago. Nancy Pelosi spoke for 7 or 8 hours. Dude, I can't listen to her speak for 8 seconds, not 8 minutes. 8 hours of her saying what? What was she saying? So I don't know. The Democrats appear to me to have completely jumped the shark. It's like they don't know what to do anymore. I have an idea. Do the budget deal. Accept the deal that the president gave you. 1.8 million people get a path to citizenship. People that are here illegally that Obama just did a temporary fix for, and then be happy that the president did something. I don't get it, Andy.
Well, they're upset because they're not going to get the credit for it. If they give the DACA recipients amnesty, or what Trump's proposing is the 12-year extension of their visas, give them visas, they become a citizen after 12 years if they keep a clean record, right. But then building the wall and so on and so forth. If he does that, then the Republicans get the credit, and the evil, racist, bigoted Donald Trump, who hates all Mexicans and brown people, he's the one that actually gets to be the savior by signing off on something saying, yes, we're going to allow you to stay. And the Democrats don't like that.
At this point, the Democrats can't win. They have no power. They have no leverage. They can't win. If the government shuts down again, it'll be their fault again. The president gave them a gift-wrapped, here's your DACA plan, and if they say no to that, it's on them. They can't possibly come up with a solution that'll work because they don't have a majority anywhere and they don't have the presidency. The best they can do is to co-opt what he's putting out there. Then they can take credit for it afterwards, and you and I and your listeners and mine will be smart enough to know that they really didn't do much, but at least they'll get partial credit. The way they're going, they're going to get no credit.
Exactly. Now, he touched on this during the State of the Union, which I thought, we played a little montage that I put together on the show, was probably one of the most patriotic, pro-American State of the Union addresses I've ever heard in my life. I'm a millennial, so I haven't heard too many of them myself, but It was one of the most patriotic State of the Union addresses I have ever heard. And when he included this comment about the immigration and the whole deal, I found it quite ironic that the Democrats, no matter what, refuse to stand up, refuse to applaud, even during the good parts of the speech. What was your take on that entire State of the Union?
Well, it was patriotic. It was America first. It was, I mean, when they started chanting USA, 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 Luis Gutierrez from Illinois got up and left, I guess, because he felt, I don't know, a microaggression was being dropped on his head or something. It's very weird when you see Democrats sit on their hands when the president talks about how great it is that people are getting bonuses, or how great it is that the economy is doing well, or how great it is that black unemployment is the lowest it's ever been in recorded history, or when he says, I want to give a path to citizenship to 1.8 million illegal aliens that are in this country. You know, when he talks about $1.5 trillion in infrastructure, something I thought liberals wanted, and they don't clap, they just sit on their hands, they're making themselves a fool again. It's the same thing that we just talked about. They don't seem to understand what they should join in on, so they can go back to their constituents and say, yeah, I'm part of that $1.5 trillion. Yeah, I'm part of that amnesty. They're not smart enough to do that. They think hating this guy, making dirty looks at him, and sitting on their hands is somehow effective. It's not. They look stupid.
Is this going to affect them in the midterm election? Going into the beginning of the year, they were talking about how the first year of Trump's administration was lower than Barack Obama's and one of the lower for the president in his first year. After the State of the Union, his poll numbers went up. Now they're saying that there's encouragement for the midterms. Going into this, the Democrats, if they're going to have any chance to try and obstruct or block anything that he's doing, they have to do well in the midterms, but I'm not seeing any momentum.
Well, there isn't any momentum because the DNC is broke. They've got this guy Perez, who's the leader of the DNC, who's just a foul-mouthed fool. Going into the midterms, they have an opportunity individually in races, and that's sort of the way Soros, backs these Democrats, and he throws his money at individual races where there might be somebody who's got a chance to get in. But as a whole, if you ask the American people, do you want the economy to keep on getting better, or you want it to get worse? You want lower regulations and more money in your pocket, or you want higher regulations and fewer dollars in your pocket? I think that on policy, on the path of our country right now, the Republicans should do very, very well. Now, that's only if the Republicans are smart, and I think establishment and some Republicans aren't very smart. I think that we have a better chance, and by we I mean conservative, value-oriented Americans, have a better chance in the midterm if the Republican Party keeps on jumping on the Trump bandwagon. If they keep on fighting with him, if they keep, you've got these idiots like Flake and Bob, what's his face, Corker. You got these people who want to fight with him. They keep on doing that, and the Democrats can slip in. I think the Republicans look pretty good for the midterms if they're smart.
Well, you're right. If they're smart and if they finally start getting on board and working as a whole with the Republicans, I still have some never-Trumper conservatives that still try and argue, which, I mean, I wasn't a fan of them in the primaries. We've gone down that road a long time, but now we're into the administration. We need to get on board with him. But they're saying that now, why in the world, look at this, the Republicans are falling apart. We have Republicans that are retiring, that are not wanting to work with him, and it's all Trump's fault. If I remember correctly, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought we were for term limits and trying clearing out the swamp. And out of the, 20 some odd individuals that say that they're retiring or not returning, really Trey Gowdy's the only one that's a solid conservative. The rest of them, we've kind of wanted to get out of office, haven't we?
Well, we have, and instead of having to primary them, we could just go and try to bring somebody in who's a better candidate.
Right.
It's going to be interesting because in all those races, the Democrats think they have a chance, and I guess that they have some sort of an outside chance. But at the end of the day, they just have to stick to what's working right now, why they should take credit for it, why they want to continue this path. Because between you and me, and I talked yesterday with somebody that I was interviewing, I forget who it was, but I was talking yesterday about this. If we go in as a conservative wing of the Republican Party, and again, I'm not a Republican, I'm a conservative. Mm-hmm. If you go in and you say, we're going to continue giving you more money in your pocket, we're going to continue making sure that you get to keep more of your hard-earned dollars, we're going to make sure that there are more jobs for people who haven't had jobs for 8 years. That's really what you have to do. Forget the politics of it. Talk to people like, I forget who first said this, but are you better off now than you were 4 years ago? Maybe Reagan said it. And the answer is, yeah, I'm a lot better now, especially in the last year. Mm-hmm. And even people who hate Trump will vote with their pocketbook, will vote with their bank account, will vote with their family's future. That's what the right has to do. I'm not so sure they'll do it because, again, they're not very smart either. But if they do that, then I think the midterm's going to turn out just fine.
Sure. Well, we're coming off the Trump tax cuts that happened at the end of the year. Everybody's starting to see more money in their paychecks. Here in Kansas, we're not so bright because we raised our state taxes to the largest state tax increase we've seen in state history. Republicans did it, by the way, too. That's why we're a little frustrated on the state level.
Really smart.
Oh, it's fantastic. But we're going into now, we extended the budget out for 2 years with an additional $300 billion in additional spending. I know one agenda that Trump's mentioned, along with many conservatives, is trying to reform our spending so we're not spending out of control. Does this help or hurt our cause when we just increase spending across the board, which was good on the military side, but we extended spending across the board everywhere for the next 2 years? How do we go about from there?
Well, I don't think this has been talked about enough, but when you see lower regulations, when you see lower taxes, you actually see an increase in revenue to the government. It's always happened in history. When people get to keep more of their own money, they spend it. And when they spend it, they're paying taxes on it. When more people have jobs, there were 95 million Americans that were eligible to work that were out of the workforce under Barack Obama. The reason why is there were no jobs. The economy sucked. And it was overwhelming power and control of central government. When more people go to work, more people pay taxes. When more people pay taxes, even though it's a lower number, a lower percentage of taxes, you've got a flood of money going into the federal government. I think that's probably what Trump is trying to do. I don't think that he's said it well enough yet, and I think that he probably has to put it out there. Listen, we're going to chip away at the deficit. Here's how we're going to do it. More Americans are working, and by volume, that'll mean a tax increase to the federal government, while individually you guys get to keep more of your money.
Absolutely. We're talking with Joe Peggs, joepeggs.com. Last couple questions before we let you go. I know you're a busy guy, but the next year, this year number 2 of the Trump administration, we've already been able to do a tax cut. We've already been able to repeal the individual mandate for Obamacare. What's the next agenda that you think he's going to focus primarily on? Is it going to be finishing the repeal of Obamacare? Is it going to be building the wall on the immigration issue? What's next?
Well, I think that Obamacare is going to have to, that attack on that has to be continued. He did the right thing and the best thing by getting rid of that individual mandate, which really was a tax on many people in the middle class. 80% of those who paid a fine for not having insurance were $50,000 or $55,000 or less. So that was a very, very smart thing to do. Obamacare is going to be kicked down the road a little bit because you have to take care of immigration now. The guy said that he would do it. He promised he would do it. It's got to be taken care of now. So, and when I say immigration, I mean those who are here illegally, the so-called dreamers, which is a dumb term. I'm a dreamer. You're a dreamer. Why do you have to be illegal here to be a dreamer? But you've got to take care of that. You've got to put that away because I think that he'll get a lot of Hispanics to vote for him if he does something fair, something righteous, something humane with them. But at the same time, he must build the wall. If he doesn't build the wall, you're going to see a lot of people who voted for him say, I don't believe you now, and not vote for him again. The economy will be his focus continually. Because as a businessman, he just wants to fix the bottom line. And the bottom line really, really sucks on the federal level right now in this country. But, I mean, beyond that, I got to tell you, I think that's the focus. I don't know what else he can really throw in there right now because those are hard. One thing he's finding out as a CEO of an international corporation is that when he used to snap his fingers when he was running just Trump International, it would get done because he was the boss. Trump said do it. Now he snaps his fingers, and he's got 13,000 layers of idiots to get through. And then who's capitulating and who's bending over backward to the CNNs and the MSNBCs of the world to make him look like an idiot. He had no idea it was going to be. I asked him that face to face. Did you know it was going to be this bad? Yeah. And he didn't. He thought these people in the media were his friends. So long answer to a short question is very simple. Keep on focusing on the economy. Keep on running it like a business. Keep on showing the American people that you're out to have them be proud of their country and to get back to work here in this country. And all that at the same time, he's dealing with these idiots who are detracting from him every day.
Well, one step at a time, and I think he's going to be able to do it. Joe Peggs, you could hear him live weekday evenings from 5 to 8 o'clock. Last question I got to ask you, how's the show going? I think you just hit 100 affiliates, didn't you?
104 now, if you could believe that. There's something very wrong with you guys at these radio stations that keep on bringing the show on. Well, listen, we're proud as can be. Andy, I said this yesterday on the air. When we started the syndication, I was thinking we can get 15 or 20 stations. That'll feel like we accomplished something. But now we're at 104, and we said, screw it. Let's go for 200. Let's go for 300. But the fact is, stations like yours and listeners like yours make me get up every morning and do the best I possibly can. It's just a thrill to be on.
Oh, it's fantastic. Well, I got to wake up a little bit earlier to be able to do that at 5 a.m., which I'm not too terribly thrilled about, but we love having you on. By the way, if you ever need some vacay time, hint, hint, wink, wink, you got a guy that can help you here. So
I got you, brother. All right.
You got that. There you go. Joe Peggs, you can hear him live from 5 to 8 o'clock right here on KQM. It's always an honor to talk to you, my friend. We'll talk soon, Joe.
All right. Thanks, Andy.
There it is, nationally syndicated radio host Joe Peggs right there. We love talking with him. We'll get him back on the show every once in a while. We try and get the national guys on when we can. I know they're busy. They're always running around. But when we get an opportunity to chat with them, we always love doing so. Thanks again to Joe Peggs coming on the show, and appreciate him being part of the station. We love having him and partnering up with him on our airwaves. You can hear him live every evening from 5 to 8 o'clock right here on KQAM, along with KGPT as well, channel 26.9 with Newsmax TV. All right, we got to take a break, but it's time. I have a 3-pack, baby. It's the last pair of tickets that I have for the Monster Jam. It is a complimentary voucher, which means that you get to choose what show you want to go to. There are 2 shows on Saturday, 1 show on Sunday. So you have really 3 opportunities. You can choose what time you actually want to go and actually want to go enjoy the show. But it's the big monster trucks. These are the big boys, the Gravedigger and all the other good ones that you've seen for years and years and years. You hear the big commercials, Sunday, Sunday, Sunday. That's it. Monster Jam. I got 3 tickets for you right here. Let's do caller number 2. Caller number 2 at 316-721-8255. 316-721-TALK. This is the Voice of Reason. Stay here.
You're listening to the Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
Welcome back into the Voice of Reason right here on the Big Talker KQAM along with KGPT TV, channel 2610. Welcome aboard. Whether you're watching on TV, listening on the radio, checking it out on the Facebook Live feed, all over social media, listening to the TuneIn app, we are everywhere. You cannot escape. You can run, but you can't hide. On a free-for-all Friday, 316-721-8255. Thanks again to Joe Peggs joining the show. We love chatting with him. We'll get him back on the show again very soon. Hey, I want to remind you about an event coming up next weekend. Not this weekend, but next weekend. And that is the very first Republican gubernatorial debate. It is at the Republican Convention, the State Republican Convention at the Hyatt Regency here in Wichita. And the debate will be Saturday evening. Now, we will be broadcasting the debate right here on the KQAM airwaves starting at 7 o'clock. We'll also be broadcasting it on KGPT TV as well. That pre-debate coverage starting at 6 p.m. Now, the debate starts at 7:30, so we'll have a little bit more pre-game, so to speak, when it comes to the debate coverage on KGP TV. KQAM will start covering the broadcast at 7 o'clock. We'll have the debate at 7:30, and then the post-game wrap-up until 10 o'clock, which it should end right about 9:30 or so. So we got a lot of things happening. Bob Weeks with Wichita Liberty and myself will both be hosting the pre- and post-debate coverage from the debate as we talk to different individuals, different legislators that are going to be there. Hopefully some of the candidates, some of the spectators get their thoughts on what they want to see and what they will see there. So really excited. It's Saturday the 17th. It starts at 7 o'clock here on the radio, 6 o'clock on TV. The debate begins at 7:30. And we do want to thank our sponsors on the radio side for that broadcast, with which is Heartland Avionics and Augusta Flight Center, Croft Lumber of Heston, Phil's Coins, and Kenton Roxy's Spectacle Shop, partnering up with us, making that happen. So we appreciate those guys very much. I'm so excited to be able to cover the pre- and post-debate coverage for the very first Republican governor's debate next Saturday at the Republican State Convention right here in Wichita. Lots more coming up when we come back. Special guest in studio, as it is Valentine's Day next week. What can you get that special someone? We'll talk about that when we come back. This is The Voice of Reason.
Wichita's fastest growing radio show.
Something big is going on, and the American people need to know what.
The Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier on the Big Talker, KQAM.
Oh, yeah, welcome back into the Voice of Reason as we're wrapping up a Friday. It is a free-for-all Friday. Something to be excited about. 316-721-8255. 316-721-TALK. Whatever's on your mind, bothering you, troubling you, it's okay. I am your political therapist, and we can work through it together. We'll play the soft little music. I'll kick back. I'll smoke my pipe, and we can discuss as we need. Rick Everett swinging in studio.
Hey, good morning.
The newsman. Wait a second. We got to do it's the newsman. There we are.
Yes, and this just in from K96 and Greenwich, Valentine's Day is arriving.
Can you imagine? It's Valentine's already.
How did that happen? Where did January go?
We just finished last year of 2017. I'm still coming off the State of the Union speech from Trump saying, like patriotic things.
I'm still coming off Thanksgiving turkey.
Well, that is true.
Come on, Rick.
See, there you go. I'm working off the dinners from the holidays there. And we have a great guest in studio, which being Valentine's Day, this is the time, guys, hello, it's time to not procrastinate. So we should probably not wait until Monday to do something.
Yeah, because we're closed Monday.
You're closed Monday, so that's not a good idea.
And I think
not a good idea.
Monica of Jewelry Savers, Monica Wolf, joining us from Jewelry Savers at K96 and Greenwich Road. I think you'll probably be the first one to admit that guys are the absolute worst when it comes to procrastination.
Absolutely.
I mean, they're just like the last
She's just
minute.
yeah. Yeah. Well, first off, welcome into the studio. It's
Thank
great.
you.
It's great to get you in here, and happy Friday to you. But yeah, Valentine's so close, right away, right off the bat. Which is good because it's really the first holiday for the new year, so we get something to look forward to. But yeah, don't be the procrastinator. You guys aren't open on Monday, and we need to get something now because that special someone kind of deserves it.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Now, Jewelry Savers is open today and tomorrow. Tell us about your hours.
We're open Tuesday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 5 a.m. or 5 p.m. and Saturdays 10 to 4. We're closed Sundays and Mondays.
Now, you've been around in the Jewelry Savers family for a number of years, right?
Almost 29.
Wow.
She doesn't even look 29. How do you pull that off?
I'm blessed, I guess.
How have you seen in that almost 3 decades of being involved in the jewelry industry, how have you seen Valentine's Day in particular buying trends change?
Well, it's just a variety of what you're looking for, and people are different. It's about what you want to make your loved one special and not what everybody else has. So at Jewelry Savers, we like to make things a little bit more personal. We go out of the way and above and beyond, and our jeweler is amazing at making custom pieces.
I can vouch for that.
Thank you. So we just like to keep it fun and make everyone happy.
For Valentine's Day, is there a theme that people like to usually get with either a necklace or a ring or something that's kind of special, or a certain kind of color? I know my wife likes the kind of the, I forget the color now, the aqua green kind of thing, stuff. What the heck's it called now? I can't
Emerald?
Even think.
Are you trying for emerald?
Turquoise?
Turquoise. Thank you. Good golly. Radial blurb there. Turquoise. That's always her favorite kind of jewelry. But is there kind of a certain theme that people like to have around Valentine's Day?
Not particularly. I mean, it's kind of all over the board. Just kind of depends on what they're looking for and what they want. Some people like hearts, some people don't. And some people like black diamonds, some people don't.
Sure.
So I don't think it's that specific.
Now, some of the big, like, if you will, the box stores of jewelry, they'll come out with some kind of advertising campaign and they'll make it say, just for her. And it's just for her, and there's been 25 million of them produced, okay?
Correct.
Jewelry Savers, the thing you guys do differently and do so well is the individualization of each piece.
Yes.
It's everything is custom made, or a person can come in with a concept and you guys can take it from concept to completion.
Correct.
Now, is the trend that you've seen in the creation of those pieces? I know, like back in the day, like way back in the day, like our grandparents, okay, yellow gold was gold, period.
Yes.
And then it trended to where white gold became so popular because, unlike silver, as an example, it's lower maintenance. You don't have to de-tarnish it or whatever the case would be. nowadays, as we're in 2018, is the trend where with gold? Is it still kind of a split 50-50 white-yellow?
I would say it's more along the line of white gold, rose gold, and yellow gold's making a comeback.
Tell me about rose gold.
Rose gold it's just fun. It's kind of a blush pink color, and it's a lot of fun.
Do guys do it? More of a ladies?
It's more of a female trend, but there are some guys that like it, and we have done several custom pieces that are rose for men.
I'll have to take a look at this. I've never seen. Honestly, I got to admit, I don't think I've ever seen white gold either.
Really?
And I know that's kind of been a big trend,
Andy.
but I mean,
Andy,
you always think of just the
Where
yellow
are you
gold.
living?
I know, right? I always just, when I think of gold, I always think of the yellow gold and then silver, and then that's about it. So
Sure.
I guess I've never really thought about the different types of gold with a white gold or a rose gold. That's kind of cool.
Now, Andy, let's see how on his game. Let's see how on his game he is.
Okay, here we go.
Finish this sentence, Andy. Blank are a girl's best friend.
Pizza. Oh, wait a second. No. That would be diamonds.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Oh, wait a second. I got to do it again. Here we go. Diamonds.
There you go.
There we go.
Much
All
better.
right.
Now, the art of diamonds, because it is as complicated to me as algebra. I mean, there are so many different variables. You've got the C's. There's cut, color, clarity. Is there another one, or did I hit them all?
You pretty much covered it.
Okay, but they grade them.
Sure.
Okay, and so for a person that walks into Jewelry Savers and you don't know anything about it, the cool thing is you guys have taught me a lot.
Yes.
I mean,
we have paper show you every step of the way, from beginning to end, best to not so great, what we can do in your budget, and we'll do the best to find the best clarity and the biggest bang for your buck.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest bling for your buck.
True.
Ooh.
Yes.
There you go.
Now, if a person comes in and let's say they see a setting and it has a diamond in there, but the price is just a little bit out of reach, can that be averted by maybe taking that same setting and having a diamond that has almost that same sparkle, but with the ability to bring the price down?
Sure. Sometimes we can even take that diamond that's in that setting and replace it with one that will better fit your budget.
Perfect.
And you can have the exact setting you wanted in the first place.
How cool.
Now, and it's not just about buying everything new. You guys have the ability where if people have been holding on to the gold ring from generations gone by and this ring here from the wedding that almost worked, and all of these different pieces of gold and silver, you have the ability of taking those and then turning them into something new, right?
We can if we'd like to. At this time, we're not doing what we would call in that aspect estate jewelry. But we have done that in the past, and that's something that we might consider doing again in the future.
If it's something extra special. And the gold weight is really what comes into play is how much gold is really there to work with.
Absolutely. And in that case, Rick, what we would recommend, since we aren't doing estate jewelry, we would recommend let's take that and create it into something new. So you're still getting and using those memories, but getting a brand new piece.
Right, and that's what I was alluding to, is you have that ability to create new from the old.
Yes, we do it a lot, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I wasn't meaning bring in the jewelry and melt it down and sell it. I was...
Starting from scratch, baby.
Yeah, well, because it's really cool, because you can take, as an example, you could take a nice gold ring, and if you wanted it turned into a different kind of gold ring, or if you wanted it turned into a piece of gold, like a pendant perhaps?
Sure, we can do that. We do that frequently.
How cool. I have heard a lot of people doing that, kind of changing it up and, maybe the piece of the diamond or something that was really special to them and turning it into something a little bit different. So it's kind of as a necklace or just kind of something they can stick in their pocket or purse to remind them of some kind of memory or whatever. It's cool how you guys can always adapt and change it and evolve as it goes along.
It's fun. Yeah.
And
it's fun.
It can happen with diamonds too, right?
Definitely.
If you've got a couple of rings that are from relatives that have been passed down and you wanted to accumulate those all into one bigger blingy ring, that can be done.
Absolutely. If mom gets an upgrade then the daughter can get the original diamond, and mom gets an upgrade, and it's still in the family.
There you go.
So what is trending for this Valentine's Day? What are you seeing people coming in asking for, saying, hey, do you have this or do you have that?
Rose gold pendants, and we have several of them.
Okay.
All different sizes.
So those are on a necklace?
Yes.
And so you can do gold necklace. Now, do you have to do a rose gold necklace if you're doing a rose gold pendant? I would assume, probably.
It looks best if you do a rose gold chain with the pendant.
Do many people do earrings for Valentine's Day?
Diamond stud earrings are popular.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
We have some fancy dancing diamond.
A dancing diamond? What is that?
Diamond.
They're diamonds that dangle, and when you move, they dance.
Okay, so they glimmer and shimmer and sparkle.
Exactly.
Okay.
So many opportunities, so many different ways that you can have fun with this. Now, and you mentioned the personalization in the rings or in that sort of thing. Do you do engravings or different messages and stuff in that if they request it as well?
We do.
Do all
we
that
can
kind
do
of stuff.
all of that fun stuff.
How fun.
Now, one more question. We're gonna go easy on Monica because it's her first appearance.
Well, I'm intrigued. This is always fun, and to be able to see the guys like in the back working on the diamonds and cleaning it or shaving it or carving it or something, like it's always been fascinating to watch that and just see that process.
Come on over to Jewelry Savers and watch us,
See,
Andy.
exactly. We'll check that out.
We'll have a party.
We'll have the party.
In addition to the individualization, and in addition to the convenient hours that you're open today and tomorrow, and then beginning again on Tuesday and Wednesday, and I think Wednesday is D-Day itself, isn't it? Isn't Wednesday Valentine's Day?
Yes,
okay.
It is Wednesday.
So the other thing is I heard on the radio that you guys are doing a price reduction. Everything is marked down for Valentine's Day.
Absolutely. All heart jewelry is 50% off in stock, and other jewelry is 30% off in the store.
That's
there
a
it
pretty
is.
good savings.
That kind of means that you need to get there this weekend before Valentine's Day.
Yes.
yeah,
Just a little bit.
Yeah. Now, when you say heart jewelry, is that jewelry shaped like a heart?
Yes.
Okay, I just clarified.
And hey, guys, we will even wrap it and make a fabulous bow for you, too. So it's all ready for you.
It's all ready to go. It's all
right.
You don't have to do anything. Guys, hello. That's kind of like perfect for up our alley there.
Go to Jewelry Savers, K96 and Greenwich Road. Tell them you saw it on the radio. I
saw it on the radio.
Well,
we are on TV too, so you can't see it there as well.
Well, there you go.
See?
There you go. Give us the store hours again today and tomorrow and up until Valentine's Day.
Today we're open 10 a.m. to 5 p.m., Saturday 10 to 4, closed Sunday and Monday, and we'll reopen Tuesday 10 to 5. And we can still order. It's not too late.
All right. Great
love it.
staff. Amazing selection. And right now, all heart jewelry, 50% off. Everything in the store, 30% off.
Correct.
There it is. I
Monica
love it.
Wolf from Jewelry Savers. Hey, thank you, young lady.
Thank you.
It wasn't that bad, was it?
No, not at all.
See?
We don't bite too hard. There we go. Happy Valentine's Day. Thanks for coming in.
Absolutely. Thank you.
There it is. Let's take a break. Wrapping up hour number 3 of The Voice of Reason. It's a Friday. It's The Voice of Reason. Stay here.
The Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier on the Big Talker, KQAM.
Welcome back into The Voice of Reason. Wrapping up the show today. Making it happen, doing the thing, advancing conservatism one day at a time, 1 hour at a time. We appreciate it very much. Welcome back in, 316-721-8255, 316-721-TALK. This portion of The Voice of Reason, as it always is on Friday. We talk to him in the 6 o'clock hour. I've been growling and hungry already. Once in a while I get kind of that hangry moment where you get a little grumpy and, lash out irresponsibly because now you're thinking about like fried chicken. Don't let that happen to you because there's no need for it. Katie's online with us with the Inman Harvest Cafe. I don't want to be hangry today, Katie.
No, good morning, Andy. Happy Fried Chicken Friday. We don't like hangry.
We don't like hangry.
We don't like it.
And I get like that every once in a while.
It's great because when you have a buffet, and if you come in hangry, you don't have to wait for me to cook your food. You can just go right up to it. You can get it on your plate. Because when I get hangry, it's like every second counts.
Exactly.
Every second.
Oh, every single second.
And And trust me, my family knows that every second counts. It's like, feed mommy, feed her, get her a granola bar, something, you know. So, So like, you can just come right in, you can walk straight to the food, you can load it up, you can sit down, and all of a sudden, all your problems are solved.
Exactly. Now you have the big
We're
buffet.
solving the world's problems with fried chicken.
See, right there, that is what I'm talking about. That's what we've been looking for this entire time, solving the world's problems, because I guarantee you every war that was started was because someone was freaking hangry and that they didn't know how to deal with it. There you go.
Yes.
There you go.
That is it.
We got the fried chicken today. It's the buffet. Now, the breakfast started at 6 o'clock this morning, so people are already trickling in, but you got the buffet from 11 to 1 for lunch. You got the big one from 5 to 8 o'clock tonight with the free slice of pie. But give us that rundown again. What's on the slate for today?
So besides the fried chicken and the homemade mashed potatoes, we're going to have a chicken cordon bleu casserole, which is the chicken. It's the homemade ham. It's the saucy stuff with a breadcrumb topping. Then we're going to have a scalloped potatoes, also with ham. It'll also have a saucy stuff, but just a different saucy stuff, and cheese, because cheese. And then we're also going to have beef stroganoff, so that's got noodles. And then in the evening, our buffet comes with the famous roast beef, so that's slow roasting. And I wanted to point out, because I mentioned earlier that, you know, we have the famous roast beef, but we always have it. It's on our menu. So, like, if you come on a different day, like tomorrow, say, or Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, any day, you can get a roast beef dinner. You can get a hot beef sandwich. I've been told that we have the best hot beef sandwich in the state, although I have not tried all the hot beef sandwiches in the state. I do know people who go around and actually do that. So that is on our regular menu.
Very good.
And then, and the pies. Okay, so today we are having cherry, peach, custard, peanut butter, oatmeal raisin, coconut, banana split, and another chocolate pecan. Yes, because the chocolate pecan I told you about before got carried out by a customer. The entire pie left the building, so he had to make another one.
The pie has left the building already.
It has left the building.
That's how many people get excited about this. I love it. You got an opportunity. Get there today. Don't be hangry. Get there. Enjoy the fried chicken. All the goodies that go along with it, along with the free slice of pie tonight from 5 to 8 o'clock. It's Inman Harvest Cafe, 112 South Main Street, just north of Hutchinson. You guys have a lot of fun today, because I doubt that you're going to see a whole lot of hangry people walking in there, or walking out of there at least today. Maybe walking in.
Not walking out. Walking in maybe, but not walking out.
Exactly. I love it. Katie, you guys enjoy. We'll check in with you again next Friday.
All right, that sounds good. Talk to you then.
Always a pleasure right there. That's the Inman Harvest Cafe, proud sponsor of The Voice of Reason. We love that very much so and appreciate them partnering up. Go there, check it out. I mean, come on. Fried chicken, pie, all the goodies that go along with it. You're not going to want to miss it. This is your show. It's time to speak up, speak out, speak loud, speak proud, speak the truth, and always speak some reason. This is The Voice of Reason. Have a great weekend, everybody. We'll be back to kick off your Monday morning right here. Have a great weekend.